my gorgeous plant people, welcome back to Reading Mindfully. My name is Yana, and today we are going to have a little chat. So if you're interested in this video, then stay tuned. Hey guys, like I said, so today we are going to have a little chat, and basically I just wanted to make this video to respond to a couple comments that I got on my last video when I talked about my the plants that I've regretted buying and that I would not be repurchasing. And I just wanted to make this video so that way I didn't have to respond to each and every comment, and I could just make this blanket video, as well as I just wanted to kind of put some of my thoughts into some of the things that were discussed in the comment section. But I already know, guys, it's been a minute. I haven't been on the channel, and basically I had a really bad allergic reaction, as well as it was my birthday weekend, and so I felt like that was the universe telling me that I needed to take a little time off, and so I did. But we're back and we're going to talk about these things, and the first thing that I want to talk about is the terracotta pots. And so I did not know that a lot of people were against terracotta, and so that's fine if you guys are against terracotta pots or if you have a bad experience with terracotta. But yes, you guys know I like using terracotta pots, and I have used terracotta pots for a very long time. I also have experience with ceramic pots as well as plastic pots, and yeah, terracotta is definitely my favorite. I mean, as far as ceramic pots, those are nice pots too. However, those pots get extremely heavy, and especially when your plants are a bigger size. And so that's the main reason why I don't use ceramic pots. My mom uses ceramic pots in her collection, and when we have to rearrange her plants, it is a struggle sometimes because of how big some of her plants are. And so I just don't like having to move such big plants. As you guys know, some of my plants get to be a considerable size. And so if I haven't discussed this lately, when my plants get to about 14 inches or bigger, and that's like the pot size, I switch them to a terracotta plastic pot. So that way it's not as heavy, and that's what has been working for me. And you know, I just had to protect my back. You only get one back, so that's why I don't use ceramic pots. As far as plastic pots are fine. The only reason why I don't really like plastic pots all the time is because they just come in different colors. Basically, one, I know you can buy all like black or all orange or things like that, but they're not uniform, and so that's why I don't like plastic pots, as well as they're very flimsy. If you guys have seen Sage on the channel, he has a lot of energy, and sometimes his sisters come over my house, and so I like terracotta because when the plant is in terracotta and the dogs knock into the terracotta, the plant is less likely to fall over and break or just turn a lot of dust or dirt on the floor. And so they have actually bumped a lot of my plants in the different visits or the different times they've been over, or like Sage when he's just running around, he's actually bumped into a couple of my plants, and they haven't fell over because of the weight of the terracotta. Especially when the plant is watered, it's there, it's very solid. Now I do have a couple plastic plants in plastic pots, and those have spilled, those have knocked over, and so that's another reason why I like terracotta pots, is just because I don't always have to worry about cleaning up dirt. If you guys are a plant parent, you know that there's always dirt to be cleaned up. It's just inevitable, but if I can prevent some of it, I will definitely do that. Another reason why I like terracotta is because I don't have to worry about overwatering my plants a lot. I don't have to worry about yellow leaves, and that's because the terracotta wicks away the extra moisture. Another thing that I like about terracotta is that I have a very minimal, very minimal fungus gnat issue. And if you guys have seen fungus gnats, you know those are the most annoying pests. They fly all around in your face, they fly up your nose. It's just very annoying. and they also do attack some of your roots sometimes. And so especially with the plants that I have to water on a regular basis, I have a very, very, very minimal fungal gnat issue, and that's because I use terracotta, and it's also because of the soil mixture that I use. And the last reason why I use terracotta is because of aesthetics, of course. I like the way terracotta looks. I like the way it looks as it ages. It just looks so beautiful and rustic. And yes, it does go with my decor. But of course, that's not my first reason of using terracotta. I love all the other benefits. And then the way the pot just looks with my decor and in my collection was like an added bonus. And so as far as terracotta, like I said, you guys can use ceramic pots, you can use plastic pots. And because I started my journey early and I didn't catch all of it on YouTube, I have tried all these other pots, and I know I don't like them. And so I am fortunate that I know that I like terracotta, and I didn't have to overhaul all the pots in my collection because I've just been using them so long. I have seen other YouTubers have overhauled their whole pot collection, and that's just extremely pricey. And so if you can just try to find out what kind of pots you like early, or maybe test a couple plants, that is probably the best thing that you can do. But like I said, I know I like terracotta, and those are the plants that's the pots that I'm sticking with. Not to mention that ceramic pots does kind of get to be pricey. Even if you go to like a TJ Maxx or a Target or something like that, if they're like $10 a piece and you have 100 or some odd plants, that can be quite pricey. As you guys know, if you guys have a plant collecting can be pretty pricey depending on how you do it. But when I do terracotta, it does tend to decrease the amount of funds that I have to spend on plant supplies. Terracotta pots can range from 97 cents to about like $15-ish, and so that's the range that I choose to stay in, especially since I have a considerable size. I probably have about 100 and I'm gonna say I have about 150, maybe not that many, but even though you can still kind of start to do some of the math of how much it would be for pots. And so that's the other reason why I use terracotta. But I just want to say that if you guys don't want to use terracotta, you don't have to use terracotta. You can use plastic, you can use ceramic. I'm just using what I know works for me, what works for the majority of my plants, what allows me to keep things simple. And so when I make videos and when I talk about things, those are just my experiences. That's just my suggestion, my advice based on my journey, based on what I do with my plants, what I use in my plant collection. But if you guys at any point don't want to use what I use, it's fine. I mean, you guys don't have to, but I'm just letting you know what works in my collection and what I like to use and what I'm going to continue to use, and that's definitely terracotta pots. Another thing that I wanted to talk about was another comment that I got on my in my comment section, talking about how certain plants don't thrive in terracotta, and I wrote back a comment saying that that's not true. I know one thing that was mentioned was prayer plants, and I have almost all of my prayer plants in terracotta pots. I have about 21 prayer plants, and I think only one is in plastic, and I'm about to switch that one into terracotta as well, because like I said, that's one of the plants that gets bumped into a lot just because of where it is in my home. And it also doesn't have the right soil mixture because it's still in the soil mixture that it came in from the nursery. So I'm going to switch that one into terracotta soon, as well as to put it in my own soil mixture. But if you guys watch my videos, you can check out my prayer plant collection video, my care video, as well as my beginner to advanced level video, and you can see that almost all my plants prayer plants are in terracotta, and most of them are doing really well for the most part. This is my Maranta silver band, and you can see this plant is doing phenomenal. It's just been growing like gangbusters, and it's got so much new growth coming in that it's insane. But this is one of the prayer plants that I decided to show today, just to show you guys that prayer plants can do well in terracotta. What determines if a plant's going to do well in the pot or the environment is the environment. It's also your lifestyle, so what's going on in your lifestyle. Like I mentioned in a couple other videos, I am currently working 60-hour weeks. Yes, 60, not 40, not 50, but 60. And so that's why a lot of my plants in those videos didn't look well, is because I've been working a lot and I haven't been watering all my plants like I should be. I've been trying to water them the best that I can. I try to water them either when I'm getting ready in the morning or in the afternoon when I'm winding down. My boyfriend even helps me water plants, but I've been trying to keep up with my watering the plants as best as I can. And sometimes even when I have a day off, one day off, I don't spend that on my plants sometimes. And so that is why some of my plants look the way they do. It's just because my lifestyle has changed for the time being. And so they're moving along with me, but that's the main reason why my plants look that way. Terracotta can also have a reason that they've been drying out a lot, as well as those plants that I had in terracotta, I had too much perlite in them, so I did have to go ahead and make sure I have the right ratio and make sure my soil mixture is correct. But as you can see, prayer plants do well in terracotta. I have my Stramanthe Trio Star that's also doing amazing, as well as I have my Maranta Red Vein. And so I just wanted to show you guys a couple of my prayer plants that are thriving in terracotta. And you can, like I said, you can check out my other videos if you want to see the other ones. But you can see all the new growth that this plant is putting out. And it doesn't mind being in terracotta at all. You can see it's still growing really well. It's grown considerably, actually. It's gotten a lot bigger. I also wanted to show you guys that I have a couple of other moisture loving plants in terracotta. I have my Domino Peace Lily in terracotta. I just love this variegated leaf that's coming out. But I do have other thirsty plants that are in terracotta and they seem to be doing really well. I do have ferns in terracotta, and these are some of the most fickle plants, and yet they're doing really well. You can see that in the beginning I didn't water this one correctly, but now I do have the hang of it, and it has grown so much this year. Like all of this is new, all this. But you can see even some of my ferns are doing well. And then I do have, I have philodendrons that are in terracotta. This is my philodendron Billietiae. Let's try to get a visual so you guys can see it. And so this plant, just for size, this plant is in a 10-inch pot, and it's a pretty hefty plant, and I haven't even watered it yet. And so that's a reason why I don't use ceramic, is because if I put this in ceramic, even if I had cash po moving this plant around, moving that plant around would be a struggle. Yes, I could just pick up the plastic pot inside the ceramic pot, but you guys know I love to rearrange my plants. I rearrange my plants about 5 to 6 times a year, at least. And so I don't want to be moving plants in ceramic pots. Like I said before, I helped my mom do that, and it is just the worst. Your back is sore by the time you're done rearranging. Like I said, I have about 150-ish plants, and if I were to move those plants in ceramic pots, even if I did have a plastic pot inside them, you still have to move the ceramic pot around with the plant. It's just too much. My back is sore, and I don't want to do it. The plant is already heavy enough in terracotta. By the time you have the terracotta and the amount of soil that it takes to fill up the pot, it's already heavy enough. But that's another reason why I don't use ceramic. And so yeah, I just wanted to show you a couple plants that I have in my collection that are thriving in terracotta. Like I said, the only thing that really determines, there's a lot of factors that determine if your plants will do well. It is the pot, but as well as it's your watering schedule, your routine, the lighting, it's your lifestyle. Are you working a lot? Are you not working a lot? Are you keeping up on your plants? It's all those things you have to take into consideration of why your plant's not doing well. It's not just the pot, or it's not just the water. Another thing I wanted to talk about is really trying on certain plants. Or I did get a comment regarding being like sensitive to plants. And let me tell you guys, I do a lot for my plants. I do a lot more than a lot of people would do for plants. I have stayed up at night watering plants, taking care of plants. I've woken up early in the morning to take care of plants. I'm talking about early, even before the sun is up, early. And I have gone through and like really gotten things down. I've changed my soil mixture and changed it and tweaked it to where I like it. I bought a lot. I put a lot into my grow light situation. I put a lot of money into my grow light situation. I've done a lot for my plants. And so when people say you need to try, I do try. And I think trying, when you say trying, you really have to take into consideration like what people are doing in their plant collection and how long they are having plants. For instance, with my philodendron mammy, I've had that plant for almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years next summer because I ordered it summer of 2020, I believe. And so I have been struggling with that plant for almost 2 years. And for me, that's a long time to struggle with a plant. It was doing really well in the beginning, and then ever since, I think it was like a month or two after, it just declined. And so 2 years, basically 2 years to struggle with a plant is a really long time. If you saw my other videos talking about letting plants go, when to let plants go, you know that I like to give timelines, because otherwise you're just going to keep trying. A lot of people stress themselves out about being able to take care of plants, and I finally gotten to a point in my journey where I really don't stress out that much about my plants. If I want to go away, if I want to take a trip, or if I want to try a new plant, I don't stress out about plants. And it's taken me a long time to get to that point. If you guys have watched my other videos, I was talking about how I would stay up at night researching, moving plants around. I would get up in the middle of the night, move the plant again, and it was just madness. But those are all the things that I did in the beginning of my journey, because I was a new plant parent, and I was just like so adamant about my plant being okay and perfect that I moved it every single bit. I moved it every 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and I was like, is it going to be okay here? Is it going to be okay here? Is it getting enough light here? How can you tell if you don't let the plant just breathe and just sit there? And so I finally got into a point where I'm just like, if the plant, if it survives, it survives. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I can always try again if I really want to. Yes, I usually do have a 3 times rule for my plants. And there's certain plants that have been outside that rule, like the aglaonema with chocolate. But usually I try 3 times. I do give it my all. And so I just wanted to say that, because I do try with my plants. And sometimes when people are like, oh, you didn't really try, I'm just like, I try. I do. Believe me. You just have to believe me, okay? The other thing I wanted to talk about is aesthetics with your plants and plant collection. And so yes, I do have an aesthetic. I like warmer tones. I like the neutral decor and things like that. And so terracotta pots do fit into my aesthetic, but I'm gonna say like they're not the first thing I think about as far as my aesthetic. Now I do think about my aesthetic a lot when it comes to plant collection. And if I'm being honest, I feel like most of us should think about aesthetic when it comes to our plant collection in our home, because if we don't think about aesthetic, you're liable to just buy anything, because you just like you're seeing something, you're like, oh, look at this new grow light, or look at this. There's so many things that are marketed towards plant parents, it's ridiculous. But that's just the market, that's just the industry, it's just consumerism. But for me, for instance, I am sent grow light invitations or tests all the time. And so I have to be very picky about which grow lights that I decide to bring into my home. As you guys know, I use Sandy lights, I use the 3-headed lights, and I use Soltec lights. So I use 3 different lights in my collection. But like I said, I get a lot of invitations to use a lot of different grow lights. And there are a lot of grow lights that I wanted to try that I almost was like, yeah, I'll do that. But just like, it doesn't match my aesthetic at the end of the day. If I'm being honest, I don't like lights that I really have to string up from the ceiling, because I don't like that look. And there's some lights that I do like the look of, for instance, the Soltec ones, but there's other ones that I don't really want to name, that I just don't like the way that it looks. It would make me feel like I'm like in a nursery or like a industrialized place, and that's not the look that I'm going for my home. As well as, I live in an apartment, so I'm trying not to hang too many things from the ceiling. I'm not trying to put too many holes in the walls. But I just say this, that if you don't have like an aesthetic that you're going for, or something that's pleasing, you're liable to just buy anything, and your money, it doesn't go a long way. Like I said, I could have bought all the different grow lights, because plants need light. Or the same thing goes for like pots. If I was like, oh, that pot's cute, but that pot's cute, I just have a whole bunch of different pots, and nothing would be cohesive, and I would just be spending a lot of money on different pots. And so I hope that makes sense. But just like, I feel like aesthetic is just important, just because we all work hard for our money. I think we should be able to enjoy the money. Save some, you spend some, you invest some. But the money that I choose to spend it on things that I like. I've spent a long time trying to cultivate my home to where I come home and it just feels relaxing. It's like my oasis. I can unwind here. I can feel very comfortable. When I have people come over, they're like, oh man, like your house just feels so comfortable, so cozy. And it's just a vibe. And so that's what I've really worked hard to like put together. And so yeah, it does mean a lot to me. Yeah, I do want my place to look nice, but I work hard for it. And I think we should all keep that in mind. So that way you can have an idea of where you want your plant collection to go, how you want your house to look. And it'll also keep you from spending too much money at the same time. Yeah, so I just wanted to make this video just to talk about a couple of things that were left on my last video. Like I said, I just want to talk about why I use terracotta and why it works for my plant collection. I also talked about like what plants survive in terracotta, and picking the right pots for you. It really does depend. Like I said, guys, I make these videos for suggestion, for advice, to show you guys what I do, what I use, to show you my journey. But by no means do you have to use what I use or do what I do. We can all just, pick and choose what we want out of our plant collection. I think that is what makes plant collections so interesting, what makes the plant community so interesting. We all don't have to do the same thing. We all don't have to use the same thing. I mean, if we all did the same thing and use the same thing, why would we watch each other? Like, if I was like every other plant YouTuber, what would be the point? What would make me stand out? And so I like that everyone does something different. I like that, we all have different methods. I like terracotta, I like soil, but I can also appreciate people who like plastic pots or ceramic pots, or who use leca, or who use pond. I also don't use those things, even though I get a lot of suggestions to use those things. But to be honest, if I were to use pond, leca, soil, I would have so many things to keep up with. I would have to flush this pot. I would have to, put soil in this one. I would have to fertilize these, but then use a different fertilizer for the ones in pond and leca. And then if I use like the still water, I had to go buy the still water, but then use tap water. And then that just would be too much to, keep track of. And so the reason why I made this channel was because I wanted to grow plants as simply and as minimally as I possibly could. Now I have a lot of plants. That's not the simple and minimal part. It's not the minimal part at all. The minimal and simple part is my routines, how I keep these plants up, how I maintain them, how I use preventative measures. I wanted to grow them as simply and minimally as I could, and I wanted to show you guys how to do that as well. And so that's why I choose not to use, different various pots, or sometimes, or I used not to use all these stands, and I talked about shelves. And that's why I choose not to use a whole bunch of different waters or different, soil mediums, is because I wanted to try to grow plants as simply as I could. So that way, if I were to leave my plants for like a week, or if I was not feeling up to my plant care routine, that my plants could somehow sustain themselves and they would be okay. And I'll tell you, some of my prayer plants have gone dry, and they just look the same. And so that's what I've been really working for on my plants. I have missed a lot of my plants, and that's why some of them look the way they did in that video. But like I said, I'm working a lot, and then sometimes when I'm not working a lot, I just don't feel like being bothered. I just don't feel like watering the plants, or I missed the plant because I didn't see it, or I just forgot about it. But these are the things that I wanted to talk about in this video, just so you guys can get a full understanding of why that video was like that and why I was talking about it. I also just wanted to talk about that video because I made that video last year. I think it was last year with my mom, and it was just funny. It was just funny to talk crap about plants. Sometimes I like talking about crap about plants. And so it was funny, and I just wanted to do that again this year. I liked the dialogue that we had in the comments section last year. And so yeah, I kind of was disappointed that I didn't have that same dialogue this time around, but it is what it is. But yeah, so that's why I wanted to make this video, so just to do a quick pop in, show you some plants, and discuss a couple things. But as always, I just want to thank you guys so much for watching my videos, commenting, liking, and subscribing, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.